going on, Chase? What's up, Locky Top? We're here today to talk some UFC. We haven't talked about in a while about fighting, so got our resident UFC expert Chase in the building. What's up, Chase?
What's up, brother?
All right. So coming up, we got UFC 304 coming in from Manchester, England, on Saturday, July 2024. I think it's 10 p.m. local time, so it should be around 5 p.m. US time for the main card.
Yes.
Uh, we'll start by going in chronological order and talk about the first one of the main event fights that we think is interesting. Paddy Pimblett versus King Green. Any thoughts, Chase?
Man, I love Bobby Green. I love the way he fights. Paddy Pimblett has a very high chin. I think he came into the sport more on the grappling side of it in the UK, and it showed. And he's one of those guys. He loves to fight. Most of those guys that truly enjoy the combat of the sport turn into stand-up artists, and he's doing everything he can to be that. And he does a good job, but he's got a high chin. Now he's had a layoff. And so I'm hoping the Scouser can figure it out and tuck that chin a little bit more. If he leaves it up, Bobby Green is going to knock him out. Point blank, period. My thing with this is Bobby Green is going to stand, period. He lives and dies on his feet. So does Paddy. But I think Paddy's jiu-jitsu and grappling is ahead of Bobby Green's. So I'm wondering how he's going to approach this fight. It's just hard to put your thumb on this fight because Bobby Green has the hands to knock Paddy Pimblett out. But Paddy has all the tools to beat Bobby. It's kind of like a free throw. It should go in, but you don't know. Paddy should win this fight as far as skills goes, but I'm having a hard time with it. I'm having a hard time betting against Bobby Green because I'm worried that Paddy's going to get sucked in to the stand up, and Bobby's going to catch him with that shot with Paddy's chin up, and he's almost lost 2 fights because of that chin being straight up in the air. And if you ask anybody that has fought in a ring, a octagon, or on a dirt road with their cousin, if you put your chin in the air, you're going to sleep. So I'm going to put my money on Paddy, but I'm not going to put much on him because this is one of those I'm going to roll the dice on. Paddy should win this fight skill-wise, but it's still hard to bet against Bobby Green with a guy that wants to stand and strike. I'm going to go with Paddy on it, and I think Paddy can outthrow him hands-wise. I think his low kick is going to be on time. But I still in the back of my mind, it's not like a lock. Like I don't lock. Sometimes I lock a fighter in. I'm like, there's no reason for that guy to be in the ring with him. But this one, it's kind of a toss-up, but I'm going to go with Paddy. And I think Paddy's going to get lucky on the feet, and I think he's going to grapple with him at the beginning. And Bobby's going to get a little bit tired and complacent, and he's going to rock him. But that's what I got for that one.
Okay. Yeah, my thoughts are Bobby Green is one of those guys that never leaves your television screen. He's like, what is he, about 37 years old, still fighting, like maybe close to 50 fights, 32, 15, and 1. Yep. Paddy Pimblett is someone that I thought that the UFC really tried to push on us. Right? Like they're looking for new kind of like international O'Malley type of guy. And they think they got it in Paddy. A couple questionable decisions, honestly, in his recent fights, I would say. This is an exactly even fight based on Vegas, -110, -110. And I think that's really what you were talking about, Chase. Like nobody knows what's going to really happen here. This is one I'm not going to give a pick for, but I would say that if I was Patty, I'd go for more trying to submit. Bobby would not try to really sit there and stand with him, but I do think that it's going to be close, and this is one that I wouldn't bet a lot on either way. Just saying that, yeah, it's interesting. Like the money line here is -110, -110. Um, Bobby Green is the favorite just on who would get the KO. Obviously, Patty Pimblett is is like 5 times more likely to get a submission based on the odds.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're basically saying that Bobby Green is plus 170 by points, and then Patty Pimblett is plus 275 by points. So basically, they're saying if Patty Pimblett is going to win, it's going to be by submission or points. If King Green is going to win, it's going to be KO or a KO or points. So
The only way Bobby Green wins is knockout. That's just if we're going off point fighting, and a lot of people mess up with the point fighting. Um, there's a lot to point fighting. It's not like you hear a lot of karate references with point fighting. All right,
mhm,
it's a strike, 1 point. You get this, 2 points. It's not just that. The point fighting is the grappling on the ground, the clinch work. But this is what gets me so mixed up with Patty. There's so many guys that have tried to push this on Patty, right?
mhm,
So you get guys that jump into a fight and they're like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pressure him. And they have. And he's shown if you pressure him on the cage, he does decent, but Patty has lethal elbows. When you get on him on that fence, you're going to take them. And elbows wear you out. I don't care what nobody says. When a man takes his elbow and pushes it in the side of your face, it don't matter where it's at on your face, it hurts, and it hurts a lot. So, um, it's just hard. It's hard for me to go with it. So, Patty is not a clinch grappling fighter, but if you take it there, he goes there. So this is what gets me with all that. Bobby's going to stand and fight. Patty's in a training camp right now, and I know his coach is telling him, hey, we're going to grapple with this guy. And it happens all the time in the UFC. It happens all the time. And if you stand toe to toe with a man, you'll feel it. This dude rocks me a little bit, we're going to the ground. But when you get to the world class of that and you have that chin that makes you work, there's a lot of components that makes you a world class athlete in mixed martial arts. And it takes getting hit in the face and being able to go right through it. And Petty has it. There's no doubt he has it because he's took the shots. Does he continue to stay on the feet, or does he go down? And does he grapple? Does he clinch work? Like so many guys have done to him that he's trying to get out of and continue on the feet. Now, once we go to the dirt, Patty will try his best to submit you.
mhm.
I don't. That's why I'm leaning towards Patty the whole way. If they're going to go the full rounds, Patty's going to win. If Bobby Green wins, it's going to be from his right hand. I'm going to predict it's an overhand right if he wins. He's going to
Okay.
flatten him. And then when Patty hits the dirt, it's just going to be a quick smother, bop, 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 bop. And probably Herb Dean's going to pull him off. And it's going to be what it is. But I can't see it. And I love Bobby Green's fight style. I love his beard. I wish I could get those indentions on mine. But I just don't see it. I got to go with Patty with all of
Okay.
it if I'm going to go with it.
All right. So you heard it first. Patty, the more complete guy. We're going with Patty on that one. Tom Aspinall, Curtis Blades. I'll start with this one. This is a fight where Vegas is basically saying it's going to go under. Likely going to be some sort of KO by Aspinall here. I think Aspinall is someone that's pretty dangerous. Curtis Blades been around the block a lot. You got Aspinall being an inch taller. Blades has the reach advantage. Um, Tom Aspinall is better on the significant strike accuracy, and yeah, he's actually pretty good at the takedowns too, and the
Mhm.
submissions. I would say this is a big time luck of Tom Aspinall. You're getting, obviously it's not as big of a payout because it's -400, but sometimes you got to pay to win. I also heard that he was doing some psycho shit like dipping his hands in gasoline or something like that, like to make them harder. I don't
Gypsy.
know. But
Gypsy. He's
yeah,
doing Tom Aspinall is doing it's a gypsy thing. If there's a documentary on it, I forget the name of it. I can come back and give it to you. I've watched it.
okay.
It's Irish fighters,
Uh-huh.
and it's Irish gypsies. God, I forget the movie. It's such a good movie, and Brad Pitt plays the guy. And he's like, "Oh, my caravan periwinkle blue." And he's just the
I
Irish.
know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's dude, it's got so many great actors. It's an awesome movie. Um, but he's
Snatch.
going. That's it.
Snatch.
Snatch. Yes. But he's going to the basic of what that movie's trying to capture with the gypsies, where they burn his mother's caravan down. So he goes and kills the guy. If you're going to the principles of what they're trying to do, that movie kind of holds true to it. Soaking their knuckles. It's not gasoline. I forget what it is that he's soaking it in, but
Mhm.
it's absolutely ridiculous is what he's doing. And it doesn't make any sense. It hardens your knuckles, but the thing is, I can harden my knuckles all I want to. Once you wrap my hands in tape and bandages, and then I slide the glove on that's got a pad on top of that. UFC is 4-ounce gloves, but at the same time, if I've got the power behind it, it don't matter how hard it is. You can hit me with a 1-ounce wrench. A wrench is made of metal, but if you hit me in the corner of the eye with, I might bleed. It don't hurt. It just, I'm like, what the hell did you do that for? So
Right.
I think, in all honesty, I think Aspinall is building the fight to Pereira. I
Okay.
think with what Jerry did with saying there's Aurora around not Pereira,
Right.
and saying that, you know, he's got these spirits with him and all this and that, the black magic. I think what he's doing, he's making a fight. He knows he's going to beat Curtis Blades, and Tom Aspinall will beat Curtis Blades. Write it down. Whatever you want to do, take your money, go to the bank account, put it on. Tom Aspinall's going to beat Curtis Blades. It's just what it is. He will. Um, they're promoting Curtis Blades because John Jones can't fight Tom Aspinall right now because he's waiting out. That's all it is. There's nothing more to this. Curtis Blades is a top 3 and 4 heavyweight, but there's a difference in being the champion and being top 3 in the heavyweight division right now in the UFC. Curtis Blades ain't there. Tom Aspinall is. He's setting up a fight with Pereira. With the Black Magic versus the Gypsies, you can write it down. They will start this whole thing. He's going to beat Curtis Blades. John Jones, something else is going to slide out a little bit more, and they're going to make this mega fight with Tom Aspinall and his gypsy ways. Even though Tom Aspinall is not a gypsy in the least, he just has a British accent.
Mhm.
And we're going to put that on the black magic of the Brazilian islands with Pereira. That's all we're doing here. And he was told to do it. So he say he's sucking his knuckles and all this and that. We're not bare knuckle fighting. The documentary that he's pulling this from, that you can read this stuff from, that, and it's a old wise tale to do this stuff. Didn't just come about. It's been around for a long time with the Irish and English gypsies. Yeah, I read the article and I was sitting there, I was like, come on. This is good for guys that have no idea how to punch you in the face. But if you've been around it for a little bit, even a little bit with the striking game and stuff like that, and at a minimum, you know your heritage. I'm literally about as Irish as the day is long. Um, it's a wise tale, man, and for the most part, it does harden your hands up, but it hardens your hands up for a bare knuckle fight. This isn't a bare knuckle fight, and so this is all a
Mind games.
promo for the UFC, man. That's all it is. It's not even mind games because Pereira's not even gonna look at this and be like, I care less if his hands are hard. I'm still gonna knock you out, but that's another story that we can get into later. But yeah, Tom Aspinall is going to beat Curtis Blades, and him soaking his hands is a promo for the UFC in another couple months.
Okay. I guess we got the main here. It is Leon Edwards in the welterweight main event title versus Bilal Muhammad. This is something that's a rematch. Kind of people forget. Kind of no contest. Yeah, I think in 2020 or 2021.
Yep.
Off of an eye poke. Two guys that like they don't really like. They're good fighters, but they're not as exciting. They don't have the international appeal of some of the other.
They have no personality.
Yeah, like I couldn't tell you anything about Leon Edwards or Bilal, so a little bit boring in that sense. I think that's why they kind of brought Aspinall and Blades into this one too. They want to have a
100%.
double title going on, so people don't
100%.
lose interest. But yeah, like if I had to predict this, I mean, we did see Leon Edwards beat who did we see him beat for the championship? Usman. Gotcha. Another boring guy.
Yeah.
So this is the boring welterweight is probably the most boring division in terms of like fight styles, and sometimes that's random, but sometimes.
Well, you feel like it's boring because it's welterweight and the legends of the welterweight division.
Yeah, they're gone.
Like you grow up watching, like for our age group, we watch GSP.
Right.
I mean, that's the greatest welterweight of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't touch GSP. And then you saw BJ Penn, who was excellent at 55, also come up to 70. A lot of people don't remember BJ Penn also fought a heavyweight and worked his way down. BJ Penn's my favorite fighter of all time. And he, I mean, you know, who do you got here, Naveen? Who you got?
Ah, man, I don't know. I think like I kind of want to bet Bilal. I'm not gonna be. I don't know.
Do it.
Don't
do it. Don't do it.
You think it's gonna be? You think it's gonna be Leon?
Don't do it. It's gonna be Leon.
Okay. Okay.
Here's why, and I'll explain it to you. All right. Bilal Muhammad is finally getting a fight for the division because he's got too long of a fight win streak to deny him, and it's his manager. All right. Now, don't get me wrong, Muhammad is a hell of a fighter. He is. But he's won most of his fights from a clinch standpoint, wears them down, and then his knockouts have usually been like a flash in the pan knockout. Leon Edwards is a world-class striker who has greatly improved on his wrestling. Leon Edwards has always been a beast, but he has zero personality. Zero. And Muhammad is the same way. Muhammad is like, he's one of those guys that want to be a bad guy so bad, but it's like, it's not authentic with what they say. That's what's hurting everybody. Edwards could give a shit about his image. Like, he don't care. Like, he knows who he is. He just fights. That's what he loves to do, is fights. Muhammad is trying his best to be a bad guy, and he can't. And he runs with all these other guys like, as far as the manager side, he's signed under the same guys that are all Kamzat,
Mm-hmm.
All the leg humpers of Dagestan. They're
Islam.
all on. Yeah. Well, you got Islam and Khabib.
Mhm.
They're all under the same guy, and so they all kind of run together. And he's trying his best to find his piece in there, but he's not as dominant as these guys. But he wins. Leon Edwards. This will not be a fight that will go to knockout, TKO, submission. Don't put your money on none of that. This is going to go all 5 rounds. It's going to be a good fight.
Okay.
But Leon Edwards wins in 5 rounds. He's going to outstrike Muhammad. When Bilal gets tired, he's going to do the clinch game. But and 5 years ago that would have worked well. It's a rematch, but the rematch. If you watch the fight, Edwards was beating the piss out of him.
Right.
And then the eye poke, he got in the way. Dean warned him, and Muhammad couldn't do it. Dude, it's Leon Edwards. This is the most boring of all the weight classes that we got right now. And it's unfortunate because you've got world-class athletes here. Like Leon Edwards is a phenomenal athlete. And what killed him even more was beating Usman. Because Usman had a backing. Usman had the mouth. He could talk. And he could walk. And I mean, you got those kind of fights with him. They weren't electrifying, but the dude won, and half the time he won with a knockout because he could just out wrestle you so good because he was a world-class athlete. And Edwards finally caught him on a left kick because he feinted. Whenever he feinted, he always dropped his right hand, left head kick to the chin. And I almost hate it as a mixed martial art fan and a guy that's done mixed martial arts because there's so many boring sides to MMA as a spectator. If you go in the pure jiu-jitsu side of it with the guy that comes into the full guard, if I'm on the bottom, I'm working my legs and I'm also working my hands. The guy on the top, he's just working his hands. He's obviously defending, waiting until he sees that opportunity to strike. And as a spectator, it is boring. It's boring. I wrestled for 6 years. Dude, the jiu-jitsu side of it can be extremely boring. If you go back and look at the Gracie legacy, they're talking about having matches for like 6 hours. I enjoy fighting. I'm not fighting nobody for 6 hours.
Right.
We're done. We are done here. You can't get me. I can't get you. You just breathed heavier first, and now your ankle hurts. I'm done. I'm not doing that. It's the same reason I don't play golf. I'm not here for 2 minutes of excitement for 8 hours of spending my day riding around on a golf cart, and I shanked it. I'm not doing that. So if I'm looking at the UFC, you got to look at the UFC the same way you look at the NFL, the NBA, the NHL. We're here for entertainment. Nobody goes on ESPN and says, look at this left guard, push that defensive tackle into the linebacker. You don't see it unless the running back went 8 yards in that hole. You don't see it, man. The NHL is the same way. And I mean, this is hockey. I don't want to see 3 passes that look cool until it led to the assist. We look at the assist to the goal. That's what we look at. Soccer, same way. I don't care how you drove it down the field. I want to see
the goal.
Lionel Messi do a bicycle kick into the goal. That's what I'm here for. It's entertainment. Sports are here for entertainment once we get to grown man status. You're not getting this with Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad. You're just not. And it sucks that it's a championship right now in the welterweight division, but there's young talent that's going to come through and revitalize it, just like any weight class, same way. Back in the day, heavyweight started sucking for a while. Light heavyweight was decent. It was boom, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonner, and then it died down and it boomed back up. So it's the same way with anything else. It's a wave in the UFC, and right now, the welterweight is just decent. And what we're watching, if you watch UFC 304 and you really pay for it, you're looking at the setup fight for Pereira with Tom Aspinall. That's what we're here to watch.
Okay, yeah. I would just wrap it up by saying you can bet on the fight going the distance. I think it's like you bet 180 to win 100. I think that or over 4.5 rounds. You're basically saying that this thing is not going to end early, and I think that definitely makes sense. All right, so let's talk about it. You brought it up. We brought it up multiple times, right? Alex Pereira, does he have the most sauce in the UFC right now? Seems like for sure every division wants a part of him. Like he has a chance to go to heavyweight and become a 3 division champ. He just seems like someone that is kind of universally liked at this point.
100%.
Yeah, like everybody respects the journey. It's coming from someone like deep in the Amazon. He's got a little bit of voodoo magic to him, as you alluded to earlier.
Come on.
But yeah, just tremendous fighter. Makes it look incredibly easy most of the time. And really since that Adesanya loss, like he's been flawless. He's really been one of the best fighters I've ever seen in UFC.
Absolutely.
For sure. And it's very dominant. It's very decisive. It's not like, oh man, like it could have gone either way. No, it's always, head on canvas type of beat.
Yes. Yes.
So what are your thoughts, man? Like who's next for Pereira? Like obviously he Prohaska put up a decent enough fight, but really was outmatched. Who do you think gives him the most trouble? Like, is he gonna go fight Aspinall? Does he want John Jones? Like, what's gonna be the end route for him?
Well, as a mixed martial arts fan, if you're Pereira, it sucks because the UFC for the last couple of years have made their bank on being John Jones being the number one man in the world, and the UFC rests their treasure chest on John Jones' head. Baddest man to ever live. All these boxers, Tommy Fury, all this and that. Who's the baddest man? If you lock them into a room, who wins? And everybody says John Jones. But John Jones' jiu-jitsu is out of this world. His wrestling is phenomenal. His striking is also phenomenal. But look at the Reyes fight. That's 50-50, man.
Yeah.
I think he won, but it's 50-50. What's his name from Sweden? It was such a Gustafsson.
Gustafsson,
yes. Excellent fight. We don't see Pereira doing that. Yeah. But now the caveat that Pereira is all or nothing. So it's what you see with him and Adesanya the one time he's got finished in the UFC, or it's him versus literally everyone else. And people want to take away from Adesanya with the Pereira finish. You can't, man. These are two guys in the kickboxing world that are so elite at what they do. The only time Adesanya has lost has been Alex Pereira, or when he come up and fought Lord, what's the name? Jury. And he just smothered him because of weight issues. It wasn't because he was the better fighter. He just smothered Adesanya the whole time. And it was because Adesanya he's long and lanky. He didn't have the weight to carry with the strength to fight in that weight class yet. And what it was is Adesanya just cleaned his weight class out. So he said, I'm going to try this. And then Pereira, like that freaking ghost you can't get rid of, he's like, stand by, I'm coming. And he smokes everybody. The thing with Pereira, what's next for Pereira is Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall is going to win this fight, and Pereira is going to scream for this fight. He's going to want it. Joe Rogan, he's pushing that fight big time. I mean, he's as big as UFC. and he is pushing that fight because the thing with fighters, and it was the same with Anderson, it was the same with GSP. If you go to the 55s way back in the day, you can get Jens Pulver, BJ Penn. You get it now with Volk, and you see how Volk fell. Islam, Khabib, Connor, going from 45, 55, 70. I mean, you see it whenever I see that it almost looks like you're an immortal. I want to push it and see what you have. And Pereira's agreeing to it, and Pereira's huge. That's a big man. Do not let that cage fool you. Every time he stands there, he's got Glover Teixeira behind him. Look at him standing and look at Glover standing. That is the same floor they're standing on, and you'll see how high Pereira is. Glover was a big heavyweight. That was not a small man. And Pereira is taller, shoulders wider. He just don't have that dense weight to him because he cuts weight so much to make these fights. Let him fight. He's gonna fight Tom Aspinall. He's gonna knock his ass out. Tom Aspinall is gonna do everything he can to grapple with him. And then Pereira's gonna find John Jones. And if John Jones fights the next one, hell, I don't know. He might beat the hell out of the next guy, tries to give him a P test. I don't know. But if he don't, then push him out.
Yeah,
I've been a
he's got to
huge
go if he doesn't fight.
Man, I've been so much of a John Jones fan since he began in the UFC. I remember when he fought Matt Hamill. I remember all these fights that he had. I mean, watching his first loss, which was absolute BS, which they just took the 12-6 elbow out. It's not illegal anymore. You can drop it. But, dude, I've been such a huge fan. But you can't get but so many chances. And it's like, dude, move over. Just get out of the way. Get out of the way. Let everybody progress. I hate an interim belt. I think interim belts are absolutely stupid. If you can't defend your belt, move. Period. And Aspinall's going to beat Curtis Blades. Pereira's going to be standing there and say, I want this fight and I want it now. I'll give you a training camp. Here's 12 weeks. Fight me. And Tom Aspinall will do it. He will do it because he wants the money fight. He was out here chasing John Jones, going to random meetups, talking shit. And it's like, I ain't with that. He's like, I thought he'd be bigger. He's bigger than you. I don't know why you think he'd be bigger. I mean, John Jones is a big guy, and he's bigger than you. But if you see him stand side by side, he's bigger than you. So don't start that. But Aspinall wins. And then Pereira standing there and he says, I want to fight. He's going to make it known he wants to fight. And Dana White's going to have to get off the John Jones knob that he's sucking on. And he's going to have to go, I got to turn these guys loose. They've got to go. And John Jones is in the twilight of his career, man. You can be the baddest man on the planet. You can't be the baddest man your whole life. At some point, somebody else takes over. You're still a bad man, but you're not the baddest. So John Jones is in his late 30s. If you're going to make the green, you're going to make the gold, and you're going to settle it, John Jones needs to fight now. And he needs to get it over with. And if he's going to solidify his legacy is not to be questioned anyways. The man's beat the best of the best, period.
Yeah, I think he has the opportunity to go out on top. And also people don't realize Pereira and John Jones are the same age. So we have 3 years maximum to make all this shit happen. And we got how many more John Jones incidents can you afford, right? We're already
you got 2 John Jones fights. You got 2 fights left. That's all he's got.
Max. And I think realistically he's got 1. And if it's going to happen. I think John Jones is also in an interesting position that he can retire now and retire the best. Not many people have that opportunity. He could realize in 1 year, do I really want to do this again? Or do I want to do something else with my life? For sure. That's an option for him versus everybody else. Pereira, he's got to fight Espinal and then hopefully fight John Jones. And then that's it. There's 1 or 2 fights for these guys and that's it. So I think it's an interesting spot to be in for both of these guys. I think this is a good storyline to happen while we kind of, we're eternally teased by McGregor, you know? Like,
Mm-hmm.
is that ever gonna happen? That's another mystery, right? Like, what do you
It
think?
will. It will. You got one. You got one. I got a lot of thoughts on Conor McGregor, and I think some of those thoughts are just being a fan of Conor McGregor
Yeah.
and what he's brought the UFC into, because we needed that. We needed that guy that could walk out on the Dallas Cowboys stadium and everybody's doing a strut. They get a touchdown doing a strut. He's the halftime show. Um, you needed that kind of celebrity to come to the UFC. You had a bunch of stars, but you never had an international guy that everywhere he touched down, everybody wanted to be around him because he had the personality, he had the picks, and what he said was true. He said, "I'm gonna finish the guy in one. I finished this guy in two. I'm gonna knock him out," and he did. And that's what separated him. And he done all these things. So uh, Connor will fight again. He's got his one in him. And that fight is going to dictate everything for him. He's always going to be on Twitter bumping gums. That's Conor McGregor. But he will fight one more time because he's got it in him. If I was him, I wouldn't have fought with the broke toe. I wouldn't have fought with the broke toe at all. I agree with him on that. And he put a picture up to show it. So it wasn't just a back out, which I don't see Conor as a guy that backs out. But he will fight, and he's going to fight Michael Chandler. That will be the next fight. But what I think, and I've said it before, Leon wins here. Conor fights next. Conor turns around and fights Leon for the 170 belt.
Okay.
That's the only one.
My out there theory of this whole thing is actually not related to Conor. I think back door is coming in for Khabib because he's fucking broke, and I think you don't think so.
Khabib will never fight again.
You don't think so? Like, why do you think that they released Conor Khabib? Did you see that video with no sound that they released? I think they usually do that when they're trying to make some hype for something. Like, I think this guy's so fucked by not paying his taxes in Russia that he's gonna at least have to consider fighting again.
He'll put 2 or 3 more guys in the UFC. He'll demand it, and he's making 20% off every single guy that walks into the UFC that he trains. Khabib will never fight again. He'll never fight again.
Okay.
I saw it in it. These dudes, I'm telling you, these guys, these Dagestan boys, I give them this. They own up to their word. And here's the thing. Khabib had the money fight with Conor. Like, it was there. Like, it was like 150 million. Dana come out and said it was like 150 million plus.
Mm-hmm.
That's lifetime money. I mean, you don't have. I mean, you can be Wesley Snipes and not pay your taxes and still be good. You can go to prison for 10 years and come on back after that payday and still be good. Yeah. Russia is not a place, especially Dagestan, is not an expensive place to live. That man don't live in Miami. He don't live in New York City, and he don't live in downtown LA. He might be in a bind for the tax side of it and all this and that, but he'll just charge a little bit more on top to push these guys through. You will not see Khabib come back in. And here's the thing with Khabib. Khabib is getting ready to get past because his age, and a lot of people don't think this. They say like 30s is young. It is in a lifetime. But in sports, it is not. And you think about combat sports, it is not. We think about 30-year-old football players from he's 34 years old playing wide receiver. He's old. That man has 12 to 16 weeks of pure contact. That's pure contact. If you're a combat athlete, your training camp is pure contact. You do that 3 to 4 times a year, which equals up to 12 months out of the year you have trained. There's a guy kicking your knee. There's a guy punching you in the face. There's a guy grabbing your joints and bending them the way they're not supposed to be bent. Your lifespan is so quick. That's why the only man you saw that was successful later in life was Randy Couture, and the only reason he was that great is Greco-Roman wrestling. I'm grabbing you, I'm pushing you into the fence. I'm like, hold on. You're tired, I take you down. And then the sport continued to evolve, just like every other sport. There was no UFC in 1910, but there was football. There was baseball. Just like Babe Ruth, if he pitched now, he's getting took 550 to dead center. It's the same way with UFC. It's constantly evolving. People are getting better. Athletics are getting better. People are getting better, bigger, and stronger. It's probably because they put steroids in the chicken. I don't know what it is, but it's what it is, man. The sport is evolving as we watch. I watched the very first season of Tough. And if you ever go back and watch the first season of Tough with Forrest Griffin, Stephen Bonner, Chris Lieben, there was so many great names in that first season. Go back to the Jens Pulver BJ Penn season. Nick Diaz is in it. I mean, there's so many great. And go look at how much the sport has evolved since then. And UFC is still it's such a great sport to watch because it's evolving in front of us. Where you see so many sports that have evolved so far, and it's like we're on the end part. Like football, I don't see it evolving anymore because they've took so many hits out of it and stuff like that. Baseball, you can't get but so much stronger, so much bigger, throw so much harder. Another 20 years from now, we're going to see a guy throwing 140 miles an hour. We're not going to see it.
Yeah.
We're reaching peak here. But UFC is evolving in front of us over the last 10 years. And another 10 years, these hybrid athletes that are just coming through that have started training since birth. And it's slowly coming. And it's going to be here 10 years from now, 15 years from now. You're going to see a guy. And I mean, you can go on YouTube right now, kids cage fighting. And they're like 9 years old in a cage right now. Yeah, and they're disgusting athletes. They're ridiculous. They're hitting flying triangles and everything. It's like, dude, this wasn't around 15 years ago. You didn't see this, but it's going to be second nature. And as they become 18 to 30-year-olds, they're polishing. Whereas you see so much more with 18 to 30-year-olds, they're still learning. And the UFC is a special place. That's why it's special right now with what you're watching right now. This is a sport you want to get into. This is a sport you want to watch. And this is a sport you want to continue to watch because it's going to do nothing but evolve here.
Cool. So kind of to close it out for this pod, I want to talk about UFC 306 at the Sphere. I just can't wait for it, man. Like I've seen some videos inside of concerts. Like supposedly we'll get Shane O'Malley and then a bunch of. It's called Noche de 306, Noche de UFC. It aligns with like Mexican Independence Day. We'll get a lot of Mexican fighters in there. I'm just so excited for that, man. Like I think that Dana White is really good at innovating. Right when COVID was around and the U.S. was shut down. He found a way to make like basically created an entire venue in Abu Dhabi, Fight Island. He's able to kind of be the first and be the one that innovates and takes chances a lot, and I really respect him for it. But man, I just can't imagine what the hell is going to happen inside the Sphere. What it's going to be like as a sporting experience. I think it's going to probably be like $10,000 minimum ticket inside there because it's going to be so unique. So, any thoughts for what you're excited about this year?
I'm very excited for the Sphere. I'm excited to see the fight card lineup.
Yeah.
The finalized lineup because when UFC breaks ground, they always make it huge. Always make it huge. So I'm excited to see how the UFC is going to make this card. Because you got to look at this. All right. The champions that you got fighting right now. So you got Leon Edwards fighting and Bilal fighting at 170. So welterweight. Hard to put the welterweight championship in there. All right. But you got Aspinall who's getting ready to fight right now, who, if he doesn't take a lot of damage, has more than enough time to fight Pereira and 306. All right, so there's your one headline fight in the heavyweight division. All right, then you go lightweight. Well, who's going to fight the lightweight? Lightweight, welterweight. You got so many, and then you got Adesanya. Who doesn't want to see Adesanya and Pereira on the same ticket? All right, so now we've got another championship fight there. We've got the heavyweight interim belt because John Jones ain't gonna be fine by then. Even though that would blow it. I mean, that would blow it out of seams for you to make John Jones fight, and then you got Aspinall, but you can't do that because you got the welterweight belt, or not the welterweight, the interim belt for heavyweight, and you got the actual heavyweight belt all in one. So you couldn't do that, but Pereira and Aspinall, it's just setting up for them too, as long as Aspinall gets through Blades, who he should. That's a money fight, huge money fight. And now you got Dustin Dustin the Diamond calling people out right now. He's calling Conor out. He's calling all these. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Conor and Michael Chandler is going to fight at the Sphere. I think that's going to happen. It's more than enough time for his toe to heal. So I think you're going to have Pereira. I think you're going to have McGregor. And I think you're going to have Adesanya. I think it's going to be the biggest UFC card you've ever seen to open up the Sphere. They're going to have to. There's no way around it. You're going to have to open it up with the biggest that you ever made it. You can't make like this UFC is good, but it's not great. If you're going to open up a new place and get the money back out of the investment that you're doing, you open it up. I mean, you know how it is to invest. You know what it is to bet. We're looking for the money. You're going to put those three on a card, and it is absolutely going to blow the internet out. I can't wait for me and you to talk about it.
Yep.
But I'm telling you now, this is the end of July. I'll tell you now, for the Sphere, that's going to be your three guys that's going to fight in that Sphere.
Okay. So I think we'll check back on this maybe at 305 or even leading up to 306 in September. We'll see how that goes. Just want to remind the audience our picks. Chase is going with Paddy Pimblett, Aspinall, and Edwards. I just want to add that I think the Edwards-Bilal fight will go the distance, so you can bet that as well.
Yep.
We covered a lot of the magic around Pereira. We set up the rest of the year. We're previewing the Sphere. And yeah, we'll be locked in with you guys at every step of the way. 304 right now, 306 at the Sphere. And I really think that Chase is right in the sense that they have to blow it out of the water. You know, this is not going to be one where they have one or two interesting fights. I'm hoping that, we get something like 300 where it's like, I can't leave the couch, or I can't stop watching this. And yeah,
it'll be bigger.
I think so. I think it's got to be. And yeah, we'll check in and we'll provide you the locks along the way. So for Chase Cox, myself, Naveen, this has been Squaring the Circle. Thank you for listening.